Thank you very much, Chair of this morning's proceedings. Senator the Honorable Clarence Rambarat, Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Mrs. Carolyn Tony Sergio Ramnarine, Vice President, Corporate Operations at Atlantic, and I think most important, the graduates of the National Agricultural Enterprise Training Program. I see smiles on your face. Valedictorian, specially invited guests, representatives from the corporate arm of Atlantic, other students and staff of UTT, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to welcome all of you on behalf of the Board of Governors of UTT, headed by Professor Ken Julian, who, as you probably know, he is at the moment in Nigeria, accompanying our Prime Minister to Nigeria, looking for new opportunities for Trinidad and Tobago in the energy sector, among other things. And I also want to welcome you on behalf of the entire UTT family. This is indeed a very proud moment for all of us here at UTT, and I think in the nation at large. A special welcome, of course, to our corporate sponsors, Atlantic, no stranger to UTT and to our PEU unit. In fact, they have been with us in this particular program for a couple of years now, and we have had a number of graduates coming out of this program. Now, this is the more or less the graduation ceremony, right? For students, initially there were about 35 according to my notes. I was here at the opening, right? And as I was coming down, I wondered how many of you have sustained that rigorous journey. And I've been told it's close to, correct me here, to 29 or so. And that's a significant retention factor, and I think you need to congratulate yourselves, right? Especially in something like, agricultural training, we tend to have high dropout rates. So it says a lot about the training that you've experienced, the motivation of our staff in the PU, right? We're involved in the training, and of course, the Atlantic, right? So we want to commend all of you for staying the course. But colleagues, as I've said, life, like education, is a journey. And what you have gone through is only one part of the journey. So as the Calypsonian would say, the journey just started, right? And the true products of this initiative will only come to fruition later on. And what I have now mandated the PEU is to do a tracer study of all the graduates from these programs and to follow them up. You should have their contact numbers, emails, etc., and keep the mentoring process going on. That's the only way we can really benefit from all of these activities. It's not a one-off, I think. So please ensure that you have it and do a tracer study and see how these graduates have impacted upon the agricultural sector in Trinidad and Tobago and their own quality of life. So that's one of the challenges I want to issue here this morning. I'm going to throw my speech in the waste paper basket and do something else. All right? We can only have a strong Trinidad and Tobago, a strong society, when the public sector, the private sector, the tertiary level institutions, and I would say the educational institutions in general, and community-based organizations come together. And I want to repeat that. We can only have a strong Trinidad and Tobago, a meaningful and productive Trinidad and Tobago, when the private sector, the public sector referring to, of course, government agencies, the educational sector, and the community-based organizations, civil society, in other words, come together. And colleagues, what we are seeing right here is evidence of this, isn't that so? We have the educational institutions, UTT. We have the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries. We have the corporate sector, Atlantic. And of course, we have you, representing the community-based organizations. So we have the elements, and we have to continue to, because the government by itself cannot do it. The private sector by itself cannot bring the transformation we want in whatever field of endeavor. The educational institutions cannot do it by themselves, nor could civil society. So I want to commend this effort. And as I was mentioning a few moments ago, we had some informal discussions with the minister and representative of Atlantic, and I said one of the most powerful statements that I have come across in my entire life was just probably about 6 months ago. And it goes like this: diversity plus inclusion is equal to innovation. Diversity plus inclusion is equal to innovation. And that is the tagline for L'Oreal USA, one of the most successful companies you can get. And right here we are seeing evidence of this, but it must permeate the entire society for it to be successful. So that's the first point I want to mention here. Now, food security, if you go to the United States, Canada, whole of Europe, etc., in fact, most countries across the world, food security is second to national security, and in some countries, number one. In fact, in Europe, Western Europe, it's number one priority item. Food security. In the States, it's number two. Right? They put national security highest. And what it means, therefore, that whenever there are problems in the countries, we are going through some economic problems, it will not have a negative impact if food security is placed on the pedestal that it would have if it's not. So the importance of food security in every country. And one of the challenges that we face in Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of it is cultural, is how we as a society view agriculture. You know, it's not a very positive thing. And I recall a statement, notice I'm not reading, made by a former minister. It was then food production. We have so many variations of it, right? Food production, addressing over 350 students at the University of the West Indies Faculty of Science and Agriculture then. And he made a statement. He said he asked the 51 employees in his unit, right? They were all agriculture graduates working. How many of them will send their children to pursue a career path in agriculture? And he told us, he said, one of the 51 said that. They would send their children. The others said they would go to do medicine, law, engineering. You know what I'm talking about. So we have a challenge here in Trinidad and Tobago, the way we view agriculture, when all over the world, in developed countries, it is placed the highest pedestal. So that's a challenge we have. And the second thing is that we view agriculture, and I want to do this, as primary production. When you hear about a farmer, what you're talking about, producing something and selling in the market. And that, Minister, I think is something that we need to remove in the psyche of the people of Trinidad and Tobago if we are going to have people, right, valuing the role of agriculture in development. And I want to tell you, graduates, we have to view KFC as agriculture. That's agriculture. Mario's, rituals, all those are agriculture. That's where the money is. And agriculture has to be viewed along the entire value chain. The entire value chain. It's not primary production. And this is something that, a message I want to catch. So you now have to see it in that way. How do you carry it from primary, as we say, from the fork or from the land to the table? And then you would now recognize the importance of agriculture as a profession and the importance of agriculture to national development. That's another point, how you view agriculture along the things. And therefore, what we need to be developing are agripreneurs. In fact, I coined that word personally 3 years ago. And now it's being widely used. Agripreneurs, that is what we want in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is the basis of, if you notice, there are two components to your training: basic computer literacy and agricultural entrepreneurship. And I want to commend Atlantic and the PU for coming up with that theme. computer literacy is a must for every one of us in a society today, in the world in which we are living. Right? The world is shrinking because of the impact of IT, right? Information technology. So now we have a global village, and none of us can survive in a society, in the world today, if we do not have basic computer literacy, at least basic computer literacy. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry Lal has to be there. So I want to come, whether it's agriculture or whatever it is you're doing, we have that. So I want to commend Atlantic and PU for this sort of thing. We have to do it. You just cannot survive. And the second thing, agricultural entrepreneurship, which I've been talking about. We have to see agriculture as a business, just as we see medicine and law and engineering. It's a noble profession, but it's how we view it, because we need the technology to drive agriculture. And these things must be infused if we are going to make a success. So you have just started, you're on the right track. And don't think when you finish now, you're simply going back now and have a piece of land in the backyard and you're producing something and you go to the Tunapuna market or the Makoya market and you said it has to go beyond that as a business. That's the other point I want to make here. And the University of Trinidad and Tobago has a critical role to play in this. And UTT, I think it's probably one of the very few universities in the world today that has as its mission statement, and if you walk around, you would see it here, to be an entrepreneurial university. And this sort of thing was developed more than 10 years ago. It's not today when we are talking about entrepreneurship. So UTT is an entrepreneurial university designed to what? Create entrepreneurs, spawn companies, and create wealth for the benefit of its people. That's a very powerful statement. But we have to live and breathe that, right? It just can't happen because you have a statement like that. And UTT cannot do it by itself if we want to be an entrepreneurial university. The private sector has to play a crucial role with the university if that is going to succeed. And that's why all our programs, including agriculture, have industry advisory boards. So we have people from industry working with the university to achieve the objective. So I think that UTT is on the right track, and I want to offer this to our minister here. We read on the newspaper a couple of days ago about the challenges we have with Buffalipso, right? We have a few researchers at UTT who in fact are working on that. We had a grant from VP, right, at that time, right? Working on that, and we are willing to play our role in really rehabilitating, the Buffalipso industry, because it can play a very important role in terms of our meat supply, etc. And also we are actively involved in cocoa research. We had significant funding from the European Union to increase the rate of fertilization in the cocoa. So it's a very important, two important projects that we are currently involved with. And UTT is prepared to play its role in the transformation of the agri-food sector in Trinidad and Tobago. And we also have a very vibrant food science and technology program, which is carrying prime production to downstream products. So a significant number of products are being developed by our students. We have incubators. Every student has to go into an incubator and develop a new product. And Minister, I could tell you what I saw from just the display of these students, but how do we carry it forward and make the money? That's the part that's missing. Went in and just look at these exhibits of first-year students. And this young girl preparing diabetic muffins. Just think of it. And I'm saying to myself, how much money we could have made as a society coming up with this idea. Where the idea came from? It didn't come from the United States. 40% of the world is suffering from diabetes today. You know that. In Trinidad, 1 out of every 4 persons over 40 is diabetic. And here we have muffins, we all eat this, and this girl is coming up with a diabetic muffin. But it has remained there. She sells a few, she makes it at home, and distributes it. But we have to go beyond that, and that's why agriculture entrepreneurship is so critical. So I know I only have 5 minutes, right? So I can't really. So we have so many things going for us, but if we come together collectively I think we can make a difference. And I really want this group here to be the flagship, to go out there. I want to mandate that each one of you get a mentor from UTT, right? That can help you, right, realize your dream. And another thing is that the future of agriculture in Trinidad and Tobago cannot be a linear extrapolation of the past. We cannot continue to do the things we did in the past and expect to be successful in the future. A generation, colleagues, today is 2 to 3 years. You know that. That's a generation. It's not 20, 25 years as we may think, right? Because things are changing rapidly, so you have to retool yourself, what? Basically every day of the year. We are becoming obsolete as I stand here. Isn't that so? Literally obsolete in terms of what is happening in the world. So we have to constantly retool yourself. So you have to come back and retool yourself. The training, whether you do it through your own reading, etc., advances, or whether you come to other institutions, etc. So this is certain, and we cannot continue to view agriculture the way we did it in the past. Otherwise, we are spinning top in mud. And all of this can be a complete failure, waste of time, if you, and I said you, when you leave here, continue this crucial conversation in every group that you meet, whether it's on the blocks lineman with your friends, in the home, with your family, in the malls, etc. Continue these conversations. If you don't do it, it'll be a waste of time. And ideas will come how you could go on advancing what you have done. So I want you to carry out, the country must carry out crucial conversations day and night. Constructive conversations, I'm saying. And we will find solutions. People will come together and respect each other when you carry out conversation. Me a successful plan, and I show you a failed businessman. Think of it. If you wait for perfection before you act, you're not going to act. So you have to take calculated risk. But obviously, you must do your homework first. That's the first advice I want to give you. Always be number one in whatever you're doing. Whatever you're doing, be number one. Be the best at it. So you have to work towards that. Martin Luther said it, if you cannot be a moon, be a star, right? If you cannot be a doctor or lawyer or teacher, be a street cleaner. But whatever you are, be the best at it. And I said that. If tomorrow I have to be a street cleaner, I can tell you I'll be the best street cleaner in the world. Be number one in whatever you do. The third thing I want you to do, you have to discipline yourself if you want to be number one. You have to discipline yourself. Always expect more of yourself. Never be satisfied with what you do. Go into the dark room every day in your own dark room and reflect for a moment. The dark room doesn't mean take the lights off as we happened just now, right? It's a moment of reflection. I do it every day. Most of the time when I'm at a traffic light, it's a dangerous thing, right? Don't take it. But always reflect on what you're going to do for the day. Am I doing it correctly? Am I the person I want to be? Go into the mirror. Steve Jobs did it every day. And when you look into that mirror and if you don't see the person you want to be, then you better do something and change it. Look into the mirror and see what you see in that reflection. Is this the person I want to be? If not, you know what to do. Be your own motivating critic. Always criticize what you do constructively. If you don't criticize what you're doing and you find faults, you're not going to succeed. Use failure. We're going to fail almost every day in certain things we do. That's common. So let failure be the nails to build a stronger person, a stronger building. Let failure be the nails to build a stronger edifice. In other words, a building. You know, the greatest tragedy in life is not death, you know. People think that's the greatest tragedy, you know, fear. No, the greatest tragedy in death is not life, is not death, but life without a purpose. Ask yourself that question. Is there a purpose? And then you work towards that purpose. So if you want to change your life, first change your thinking. And things will fall in place. And I just want you to say with me, right, these words. And this is end, and I want to thank you, right? Let me just get it here. Yes. Anyway, I remember it, right? I believe, come on, say it, that I have the full potential to be the person I want to be. And nothing will come in the way of my achieving my full potential. All right. Again, I want to thank the minister for coming here and spending his valuable time to share some thoughts with us, and for his support to these initiatives that we are doing at UTT. I want to also commend Atlantic for their support, and we appeal to the other private sector to come together as partners as we try to move Trinidad and Tobago from the society that we are in to one that we all desire. And my favorite quotation, which I have coined myself, we are now living, in a knowledge society, a knowledge economy. And the countries of the future are those countries which take knowledge, powered by the human imagination, creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship, to create wealth for the benefit of all its people. That is the new dogma. And we have examples of it. It's no longer oil, gas, gold, or silver that makes the poorest countries in the world are those which have those natural resources. Isn't that so? Venezuela, look at the position of Venezuela. Guyana has all these. It is those which are taking knowledge and using knowledge to create the wealth for the benefit of these people. So whatever happens to the price of oil, you won't change that. And based on that, I have a little quotation which I always like to leave. Sorry for repeating it. And it's my quotation: silver and gold have we none. Oil and gas is going to run out soon. But what I bring to you, Mother Trinidad and Tobago, is knowledge, fueled by the power of the human imagination, creativity, and innovation, to create wealth for the benefit of all our peoples, whether they are from the hills of Laventille or the plains of Caroni, from Charlottesville to Icarcus. Thank you very much.